Now that I've left the band, I'm happy to be called the person who is in Arcade Fire because it's very true. And if I saw someone from The Clash, I could process that was the person from The Clash and it's the thing they're doing. And I'm very proud of the work that I did there. So it is, and I have there's a lot of people who are Arcade Fire fans who love my music. There's a lot of people who've never heard of Arcade Fire who love my music. So it feels like a healthy ecosystem currently. I mean, we'll see how it goes. Arcade Fire made so many great records, and the process of making those records, the ups and downs, certainly influence how I work and how I get people together. And there's, I think you learn from any process. It's not specifically Arcade Fire did something wrong, but you always make mistakes and then you learn from your mistakes and you make new mistakes. So I'm trying to make new mistakes with this band. It kind of started with me and Miles, where I was like, I want to make a record and I don't want it to be a solo record and I want to make it with Miles. I want to have Miles produce it with me. And then from that, it was like, oh, and we have this band and we have Jenny and Julie and Sarah, who are such an entity, and Jenny, Julie, Sarah, and Miles, which are such an entity. And let's acknowledge the reality. Yeah, and it goes back before that. My mom was in a band with all her cousins, and her mom, my grandma, was in a band with a musical group with her sisters and her husband. So it's not, I don't know how it became a traditional thing, but it's definitely traditional. I mean, we don't make folk music, but there's an element of folk music where you're just trying to make something with the materials at hand. And my wife, Jenny, is a great musician and a great dancer, and she thinks very musically, and her sister is a great musician, and it's just like, oh, these people are here in my life. Let's use what's here. About half the record is songs that kind of me and Miles wrote and structured in Miles's basement. And then we went and we played them live and we made them songs and we arranged them and we thought about the arrangements all together. And half the record is pretty experimental. The last song, The Window, I invited Julie over to play. It was just like, come over and play Chopin and we'll make something out of Chopin. And some of the songs, Julie is texting me chorus ideas or arrangement ideas or chopping it up digitally and being like, I think the chorus should go here. And so half the record is me and Miles wrote it and everyone kind of arranged it together, and half the record is kind of very bits and pieces. They're all different methods, kind of. Nobody has an ego. Nobody is out to be in front. Everyone is just thinking about the work and how to support things, even down to just packing up the gear after the show or arranging the room or cooking lunch for people. It's at a very human level. Everyone is very thoughtful of everyone else, which I'm always learning. I'm pretty thoughtful. I'm not that big of a jerk, but it's good to be reminded of everyone's humanity all the time. I mean, it's basically, the video is like a science fiction idea where it's the band in the future is making this video it's nostalgic for this past that happened. And actually I'm going to the sauna today. The sauna that I go to is the guy who owns it, his father owned a sauna in Jurmala, a vacation place on the beach. And his father ran one. And so this is the son of a Latvian Jewish guy who now runs a sauna in Brooklyn. Everyone, there's a little bit of feeling that there's the Cold War vibe is coming up somewhere with Russia and China, and the world is very tense. And I kind of think of places like Jurmala, that were just vacations in the middle of the Cold War or something like that. Honestly, performing with the band is really wonderful. You just have to be present to do it. And it's very centering to make art with people that you love to make art with. It doesn't mean you're ignoring the world, but it is a moment where you're just there and it's human voices in a room. That really helps, just moments of centering. I'm going to my Latvian friend's sauna today to just turn it off. Cause you do worry, you do read the news, you do start to lose your mind a little bit. And so much, I actually don't think we're that powerless, but a lot of it, you can't do anything about it right this moment in the place that matters, which starts to make you feel crazy. But it's not that we're powerless. We can turn the ship, but it is stressful to be on the ship that's going towards the iceberg. I'm always a reader. I'm just reading all the time. I just sit on the couch and read. But I run through the park now. I've become a runner. I was never a runner, and now I run through the park. There's a beautiful park here in Brooklyn, and all of humanity is in the park. It's like old Arabic women dressed up, and Russian people arguing, and like big families from Mexico having barbecues, and people celebrating their birthdays, and like 30 Jewish men praying. And it's just every kind of person, every kind of language. And you just run through the park. You run like 5 miles in a loop, and you just kind of see all these humans. I think this band is very dance centric. But yeah, I met Jenny, my wife. We met 20 years ago, and she was a choreographer, and I auditioned it was in school, it was in university. And I went to audition for a piece for my friend, who, not Jenny, but my roommate at the time, who was also a dancer. And it was like the hardest, most embarrassing thing I've ever done. You're like, oh, I can't actually dance, because there's like 5, 6, 7, 8, like 1, 2, 3, and you're like, I can't do this. Like, I have rhythm, I feel the music, but like, oh wow, this is a skill that people have devoted many years to. But it's also very intrinsic, and it is like, if you have rhythm and if you feel the music, you can do it, and you can do something exciting. So it's those two paths of like somebody having a skill, like a craft that they've devoted years to, but also it's very basic and human, and anyone can do it if you feel a little bit at the beat. Wow. Let me think about that. I think the part that helps it endure is just kindness over time, like kindness over 20 years, because it's a long road, it's a long journey. And like, even just very basic kindness is planting seeds all the time. Even just making somebody a sandwich, it just plants a seed that grows into something. But no, there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of things, but I find that kindness is kind of the water for the plant, of just like you are human, like like we are human together. We have 3 kids, so we've got a lot going on, like a lot of craziness, and a lot of early mornings, and a lot of late nights, and a lot of kids waking up at midnight and having bad dreams. And so not everyone's always at their best. But we try to be at our best a little bit. They're all very different. I have an 11-year-old and I have 5-year-old twins. And when they were young, it was all things that I don't remember. It's all things that you don't remember when you're 2, 3, and you see they're still very much the same people they were when they were 5, 6 months old, when they were a year old, when they were 3 years old. They're still that same person. And so this is a little abstract, but I've learned like, the root of who I am, it's not some creation that I made. It is, I've put in a lot of effort, and I've like tried to make myself, but like the root of it, I can't remember. The root of it is from my parents and from their parents and from something else. And it's very mysterious, and I'm very grateful for it, where you're just like, oh, there's something beyond what I'm doing that's like, that makes you feel grateful. And they're the 5-year-olds right now are just so creative and so pure, and so like, they'll draw a thing, and you just see, they draw something, and just like the quality of it is alive, and you're like, oh, it makes, just like on an arts level, you're like, oh, how do you make something alive? Like, I don't know, it's interesting to see. I have a play that just opened in New York. It's called Stereophonic, about a band in a studio, and it looks like it's going to be a hit, weirdly enough. Like, people like it. And so we're talking about, what do we do next? Like, how do we bring it elsewhere? Where are we going? I mean, this chunk of work, it just opened. So the big chunk of work is already done, but now we're like daydreaming about what we're doing and what I'm going to do with the playwright next, this playwright David Adjemi. And it's just very exciting. There's a lot of positive energy in the theater stuff I'm working on, which is fun. I'm so glad. Yeah, nice talking to you.